Hey, welcome back to Entertainment Weekly's Comic-Con coverage. Well, I have some very, very big stars with me right now of this year's Comic-Con. The director and the cast of The Amazing Spider-Man coming out next year. We have Andrew Garfield, who plays Peter Parker, Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, director Mark Webb, and Rhys Ifans, one of our favorites. Mark and Rhys, I'm going to ask you to share that microphone if you don't mind. Okay, thank you. I wanted to start with you, Mark, and ask, what is it's a new Spider-Man. What is maybe not different about this Spider-Man, but what is your take on this guy?
There's so much fantastic material from the 40 or 50 years that Spider-Man's been around that is really wonderful to exploit in the cinema. I think Peter Parker and Spider-Man he belongs on the big screen. You know what I mean? He's I think one of the most cinematic characters in the comics universe, and I always found that appealing. I think in particular the stuff that we have Gwen Stacy, which has never really been explored deeply cinematically, and I think that's one of the most famous and interesting pieces of comic lore, certainly in Marvel, but most definitely in Spider-Man. And I think that's a really, really appealing thing. And then there's I've always thought there's something interesting about this kid who was left behind by his parents and what that does to him. And I think that's a really interesting way to get into this character that we haven't seen before.
You mentioned Gwen Stacy. I think fans of the comic books they know Gwen Stacy as this kind of very vulnerable character. But what is your take on Gwen Stacy, Emma?
Oh boy. Ooh.
Who is Gwen Stacy?
Who is Gwen Stacy? I think there's still definitely a vulnerability, hopefully.
But not.
Here's hoping. No, I mean I guess this version, maybe just because of my sincerely limited range, is a little sassy and sarcastic.
Come on. Don't even.
No, but it's maybe a little different than the Gwen in the comics, but hopefully that'll be all right with everybody.
And Mark, I know one of the very first and most difficult things about this was casting Spider-Man. So when did you first see Andrew Garfield, and when did you think, oh, this guy is the right one?
We screen tested. Yeah, we saw 3 or 4, I think. And there was a moment. I remember a very specific moment when we were screen testing Andrew. I mean, we had done a series of screen tests with different actors, and there was a moment when he was eating a cheeseburger, and there was a scene that was written for the screen test, and the way he moved, I thought the way his elbows flopped around, and I was like, that's a kid who's quite comfortable in his body. And there was something about that movement that was, I remember watching it over and over again, and there was something that I was really compelled by in that simple moment, that I felt like the identity of that kid felt real and authentic. And I was like, I really moved by
cheeseburger right now.
Moved by that cheeseburger eating. I mean, it sounds absurd, but it's absolutely true.
So nice, thank you. That's so nice of you.
And Andrew, I know you were a big fan of the comic book. You're also a big fan of the Sam Raimi version as well. But what is your what's your take on Peter Parker?
Oh man, yeah, it's difficult to sum up in a soundbite, but I'm gonna do it for you.
Thank you. But take your time. We have all day and lots of
we have all day.
Tape. Yeah.
So I can take a long pause.
Absolutely.
Okay. No, I've loved these comics, and I've loved the movies, I've loved the cartoon series. It's been, I don't know, this character has meant so much to me since I was 2 years old. So it's very surreal to be stepping into the symbol that has meant so much to me. Why I was interested in this particular incarnation, this particular chapter of the telling of the story, was one of the things was the fact that he's an orphan. And I felt like that's such an incredible, rich thing to delve into and try to understand, and the effect that would have. And I think Mark said something wonderful recently in an interview, saying that it's a story about a boy who goes out looking for his father and ends up finding himself. And I think that whole of lacking parents is something that is profound for any child, and it will compel them into an adventure and a journey, and I think that was one of the many, many things that excited me about it.
Is there any? I know that I've heard this version described as more gritty, more contemporary than other versions that we've seen before. Is that an accurate description of it?
I think so, but we don't want to misrepresent it. I think it's very humorous. I think one of the things that Andrew brought to the character, which and it's a term that he uses a lot, it's a trickster. You know what I mean? And there is an irreverence, or sort of a punk rock aesthetic to Peter Parker that we wanted to mine. And there is an emotional authenticity certainly that we're after. And I wanted to create a universe and a world where if you walk out of the movie theater, it's something that you recognize. I want it to be a familiar feeling world, but at the same time, those words can, you know, I mean, they're fair, but I think there's so much more than that, and I think there's a humor and a lightness and an innocence about that character that we felt really obligated to as well.
And I mean, we see Peter Parker's parents in this version. We have mechanical web slingers as opposed to the organic web slingers. There's so much interesting stuff. But I don't think anything is any mystery right now is more compelling than Dr. Kirk Connor or the Lizard that you're playing, Reese. So, is there anything that you can tell us about him? How does he talk? You want to give us a little bit of that?
He kind of talks like just a little louder than this. When he's angry. And then when he's kind of feeling sexy, it's kind of just a little quieter. No.
No, that is exactly what you did.
No, Curtis Connors has, like, just to reiterate what Mark said, that a compelling theme in this film is about loss and finding something again, and Peter Parker is looking for his parents. Curtis Connors is a potential father figure, but Curtis Connors is also, without being crude, looking for his arm that he's lost, and he is presented with and has access to a science that can enable that. But that science and the enabling of the finding of that arm poses a deep moral question and an ethical puzzle, and that's what I represent.
Well, we cannot wait. I know you guys have a very, very busy day here. Thank you so much. Thanks for being on the cover of VW, and we're excited. Good luck.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.